Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the Grand Poobah, as I am the founder and editor-in-chief of The Gaming Gang. So if this is your first time here, welcome aboard. Hang out, have some fun, kick up your feet, relax. This is not rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. Tonight is Thursday, November 5th, 2020. This is episode 568 of The Daily Dope. So, once again, if you've never watched the show before, let me point out that we're just talking, for the most part, tabletop gaming news. So we talk about the latest in board games, role-playing games, card games, miniatures games. Every once in a while, we'll talk a little PC gaming like we will tonight, as well as, actually, some pop culture tends to rear its head on occasion, but for the most part, it's pretty much all tabletop gaming around here. So I do want to mention that if you like this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. Of course, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Daily Dope streams live, Monday through Thursday nights, right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my review of Static Dawn, the very rules light cyberpunk role-playing game from Frenzy Kitty Games. So that is the latest review that is up. It just went live today, so you can check that out. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. All right, so those of you out there who have been constant viewers, certainly appreciate you hanging out. Since this is a live stream, do want to mention chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But I do pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in and I will respond. So far, it doesn't look like anybody's in chat, unless we're having one of those. Ah, there we go. A grade A just said howdy. A grade A is first out. So grade A says, is it working? All right, so that's weird. YouTube didn't put up a window. So hold on. So are you guys seeing a stream here? Is the stream going? So it seems to be running over here. Nothing has changed as far as I know. I shouldn't have a brand new, I shouldn't have like, okay, so grade A says, yes, they see the stream now. Thank you, grade A. I was going to say, I haven't done anything. I haven't, because every once in a while, if I kind of like clear out my browser cache or something like that, then YouTube creates a new stream key for me. And I almost always forget to go grab it. So, all right. So at least a grade A's here hanging out in chat. But I guess there seems to be some issue with the preview windows not showing that that the stream is out here live. So I don't know. I have no idea. We'll have to see what happens. So the election counting continues here in the United States. And I am very sad to say that it's become more and more obvious that I will not be the next president of the United States. And I'm a little bummed. I'm a little bummed by that. No. No, I'm not, because I would certainly not want that job. All right, so let's jump on into the news because I've got a good mix of news tonight. First off, hitting stores in January is After the Empire, which is from Gray Fox Games. I've got the dope. After the fall of Rome, Europe fell into the so-called Dark Ages. From the chaos, feudalism arose, providing stability to the region over the coming centuries. By the High Middle Ages, the region was prosperous despite much fighting. From your walled city, you're a medieval liege ruling the surrounding lands, settlements, and holdings granted by birthright. This is your fiefdom, and all within it owe fealty and allegiance to you above all others. Each other lord and lady rules a neighboring fiefdom and competes for resources in the unclaimed yet bountiful lands of the countryside between them. Tensions were high and petty feuds common between you and your neighbors until scouts reported a new and deadly threat. Invaders have swept in from the east. Their sizable army is camped on the edges of your realm, and this new common enemy endangers the entire land. Refugees from the fallen eastern lands seek shelter and bring tales of destruction. Old rivalries must be put aside to focus on the onslaught to come and remain unbroken. After the Empire is a worker placement / resource management game set in the Middle Ages. During each turn, known as a season, players alternate using worker tokens to take actions, such as gathering resources, building advanced buildings, and recruiting refugees from either the shared game board or their personal fiefdom. Once all workers have been committed, players harvest food from their surrounding lands and then prepare for combat. During each season's combat, invader cards are revealed with a randomized number of troops and compass direction of attack. Only the wealthiest of castles will draw the attention of larger forces and their siege weapons. You must repair your city and recruit and arm your troops quickly to stand any chance. The winner is the lord or lady who has best preserved their fiefdom and saved up the most gold. Money, money, money. Money. Your life, your wealth, your fiefdom, and your legacy must be protected at all costs. After the Empire is for 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up, plays around 1 to 2 hours, and will carry an MSRP of $90 when it arrives on January 18th. So you can ring in the new year with After the Empire. So, strangely enough, this originally went up on Kickstarter. It funded, and then Gray Fox Games canceled the Kickstarter. Then it went back up on Kickstarter, funded successfully, and I didn't really see a whole lot of difference between the first Kickstarter and the second Kickstarter. We do see that there's some miniatures here. I do want to point out that those miniatures, I believe, are really small. We're talking like, I think they're like 13 or 16 millimeters high. So these are not large 28 or 32 or 34 millimeter minis whatsoever. So these are smaller minis. This could be kind of interesting. It seems kind of funky though, doesn't it? Just, I don't know. It's sort of seems Euro-ish as far as, worker placement and gathering resources and things like that. And then you'll have the battles that take place at your castle or fortress or what have you. Kind of odd. I don't know. Like I said, could be pretty interesting. I really got to be honest. I don't have a connection with Gray Fox Games anymore. The person who was their PR person that I was pretty tight with moved on. So you know how that happens. It's like every time you turn around, somebody new. It's like on a side note, Terry, who was the PR person who hadn't even been at Renegade Game Studios that long, probably less than a year, she's moved on. So it's like, oh, well, we got to take a look at Gates of Delirium. Probably be about it. My high school friend Scott Weigel has joined us in chat. Good to see you, Scott. Hanging out, blowing off some steam while everybody gathers around the TV, eagerly awaiting the next single vote or two to be counted in these battleground states. I highly doubt we're going to know anything till tomorrow night. I got my fingers crossed, though. Got my fingers crossed. See what happens. All right, moving right along. I mentioned yesterday that GMT Games has quite a few new titles shipping out. And yesterday we talked a little bit about Apocalypse Road. Tonight, I want to mention Caesar, Rome versus Gaul. So we've got a little Roman flair going on. First two news pieces. We're going to have the beginning of the Roman Empire, which follows the game that's about what happens after that empire has fallen. Caesar, Rome versus Gaul is a fast-playing, easy-to-learn, two-player, card-driven game on Caesar's conquest of, you guessed it, Gaul. One player plays Caesar as he attempts to gain wealth and fame in Gallia at the expense of the Gauls. The other player controls all the independent tribes of Gaul as they slowly awake to the peril of Roman conquest. Caesar, Rome versus Gaul, uses many of the core rules and systems used in Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage. Players are dealt 7 cards at the start of each turn and use their cards to move their armies and place control markers. Players familiar with Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage, will quickly learn this game. The game covers the height of the Gallic Wars, the period between 57 BC and 52 BC, when Caesar campaigned back and forth across Gaul, putting down one rebellion after another and invading Germania and Britannia. Units are individual Roman legions or Gallic tribes. Each turn represents 1 year. Caesar, Rome versus Gaul is for 2 players, ages 12 and up, plays in 2 to 4 hours, and carries an MSRP of $60. Yes, a great day, I believe, is saying that this looks good. I certainly do agree. It is designed by Mark Simonich. So Mark does some pretty good game designs, some pretty solid historical games. Definitely dig the artwork on the cards. Art looks very nice. A little bit different than, actually it looks, the artwork on the cards, because this is a card-driven game, looks like it's got a little more pop than we're used to seeing with some of the historical games from GMT where we don't have any photography that can be used. Usually we get some, kind of like black and white images, some line art, inked line art. This looks pretty impressive. So I do want to point out, if you have any interest in Caesar, Rome versus Gaul, by all means, pick it up, because I say it time and time again, GMT Games does not print out huge print runs. So if something sells out, it is out of print for a while. So, all right. Something just popped up here on the old monitor. I'm like, what? Hey, I'm busy here. I'm doing a show here. I'm walking here. I'm walking. So Great A mentions the updated successors is coming as well. There's a lot going on with GMT. GMT's finally caught up because, of course, with COVID, it was just nothing was being produced in China. Nothing was being, manufactured in China. And of course, that is where a vast majority of our board games are made, including GMT's. So there was a lot there was a period for about 6 months. We were getting releases, but they were just dribbling in from GMT. So I think we got a lot coming. Tell you what, that Apocalypse Road I talked about last night, that looks good too. Because I'm a big Car Wars fan, although the game itself isn't really that good. I like the concept of it more than anything else. All right, let's move on to a little PC game news. Because it is Thursday, that means we've got another absolutely free title over at the Epic Games Store. This week it's only one. So we get one. And it is Dungeons 3 from Realm Forge Studios and Kalypso Media. Here's the dope. Through enticing the dark elf princess Thalia from the fluffy clutches of the surface world to become his chief lieutenant, the Dungeon Lord has found a way to direct his campaign of conquest from the confines of his underground lair. With Thalia on the front line and the united forces of evil to support her, players will have to use every trick in the book to best those do-gooders of the overworld once and for all. Unleash your dark side by creating a unique underground dungeon from a huge array of rooms, traps, and structures. Raise the most terrifying army the world has ever seen by choosing from despicable creatures such as orcs, succubi, zombies, and much, much more. Then, once you've built your forces, emerge from the darkness and guide your army to the light of the overworld, where you will corrupt the land and dispatch anything even vaguely heroic, cute, or unicorn-shaped. And in a first for the Dungeon series, experience randomly generated levels so that no two sessions are alike. Never-ending fun for any evil conqueror. This game features the biggest, best, and evilest dungeon sim yet, topped off with a fully reworked overworld real-time strategy mode. Command the united forces of evil under the guidance of a new character, Thalia, and lead them to victory. There's an extensive single-player campaign with 20 missions and more than 20 hours of playtime, randomly generated levels, a brand new co-op mode for 2 players, more rooms, and more unique abilities. The fan-favorite Dungeons narrator is back with his unmistakable voice, continuing the Dungeons legacy in the best way possible. So we've got a 2-minute... this is like a launch trailer, but there's really no gameplay that's being shared. But it is kind of funny, so I thought I'd share it. So let's kick back and give it a peek.
Once upon a time, on a fatal night, someone crept into a mysterious cave. With the help of magic and a stable internet connection, that someone contacted the tech-savvy evil dungeon lord. But then, one of the absent evil dungeon lord servants took the call, when suddenly... the mysterious person once again tried to reach the far-off evil. A short time later, the deed was done. The persuasive evil had won her over to its side and its dark deeds. She took her place as the expansion planning evil's right hand. Dungeons 3. Fall 2017.
Dungeons 3 is available absolutely free over at the Epic Games Store through November 12th. It's a great ace. Rather a buxom game there. Yeah, and yeah. I gotta say, I was a huge fan. I loved Dungeon Keeper, and I loved Dungeon Keeper 2. I have not played Dungeon. dungeons, I should say. Now, Elliot Miller, my best friend, who is mentioned all the time on the show, I was talking to him the other day to remind him that this was available for free starting today because he had played either the first Dungeons or Dungeons 2. And he said he really liked it, although it was kind of buggy. So I don't know. I have no idea. I do know there's a lot of DLC available for this that is not included. So, although I think over on the Epic Game Store, it looked like most of it was like $1.99. It was all marked down. This game has been out for 3 years. So it's not as if this is like a brand new game. I do believe there's also, I might be wrong, but I think on the horizon is the Dungeons Complete Collection, which I think this is maybe why we've got a freebie over at the Epic Game Store for this. But hey, looks pretty good. Could be a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the Dungeon Keeper games from way back in the day. Although they were very puzzly. They were the sort of games where you had to sit there and address the puzzle that was being presented to you in that mission, as opposed to you're just kind of wheeling and dealing, making your dungeon the way you want. So that was one drawback of the game, but what can you say? Back in the day, you didn't have 24 gigs of memory to play with. So, all right, moving right along. There is a book, an illustrated book on the horizon, coming from Free League Publishing. I thought I'd share this because it looks pretty damn interesting, and it is actually one of my favorite novellas out there. That's right. Free League Publishing is going to release the illustrated At the Mountains of Madness this month. Here's the dope. Antarctica, a place of frozen wastes, desolation, and things best left forgotten. Explore the tale of William Dyer, a professor from Miskatonic University and the leader of an ill-fated expedition to that remote and forlorn continent, recorded in a series of letters, anomalous and often horrific events. The expedition ventures further than any other before him and ultimately pays the price for it. H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness is one of the greatest classics of American horror literature. As the most ambitious story Lovecraft ever wrote, it has served as a source of inspirations for filmmakers and authors in the decades since his death. The critically acclaimed artist Francois Berenger, Francois, was fascinated early on by Lovecraft's works that explore the darkest corners of human imagination. After dreaming about illustrated versions of Lovecraft's works for years, Berenger finally began to create his own vision of the Lovecraftian horror. He has previously interpreted the classic The Call of Cthulhu, which received international praise. Now Berenger is pushing the boundaries even further with his bold vision of At the Mountains of Madness. This book is the first volume of 2 and is hardback in a huge 10.3 inch by 13.8 inch folio format, bringing Lovecraft's horror to life with lavish full spread images. This 64-page hardcover of the first volume will carry an MSRP of $24.99 when it arrives November 24th. Sweet. I wish this was just one volume, though. That's what's kind of throwing me off a little bit. I mean, yeah, the illustrations look very cool. They look very, very good. Like I said, this is my favorite Lovecraft story as well. And I don't know, $25 for 64-page hardcover. It's a little tough sell for me. Although I could probably reach out to Boel at Free League to see if maybe they'd be interested in sending along a review copy, which I'm sure she would. I don't know. Cool deal. All right, let me check something here. Yeah, we were dropping some frames there a little bit. Not too bad. Nothing too horrible. Kabuki Kid is in chat. Good to see you, Double K. Thanks for swinging in to hang out tonight as I wrap up my episodes of the Daily Dope for the week. Let's move on to some role-playing game news, because now available in PDF from Mongoose Publishing is a new Traveler Adventure campaign. Here's the dope on Skandesvik. Maybe just taking a stab. Maybe it's Skandersvik. Skandersvik? I don't know. Skandersvik. We'll say that. Skandersvik is a complete campaign for Sword World's travelers. As crew members aboard the merchant cruiser Skander, they'll voyage through Darien and Five Sisters subsectors into District 268 and finally home again. There's money to be made and glory to be earned on such an expedition, but it's not without its hazards. Free Corps Skander, an uprising in the outback of Bulgaria, I almost said Bulgaria, it's Bulgaria, has caused what amounts to a civil war, trapping some of the travelers' contacts in a combat zone. Although officially prohibited from getting involved, the crew of Skander includes experienced fighters willing to join the fight as mercenary Free Corps. The Bowman Deception. Following rumors of a downed Sword World ship on Nurtan, the travelers slip through an Imperial blockade to investigate the wreck. There they find clues as to the fate of the legendary Admiral Denisov. There's also the Lunian Shield. During a transit of the Imperial systems unofficially known as the Lunian Shield worlds, the travelers are lured into a trap by devious pirates. Spoilers! Skander is a rich prize, but she may be too tough for the pirates to deal with. Skandersvik, I don't know, provides a background to the mission, the ship, and her crew, creating many opportunities for incidents, side trips, and mishaps along the way. There's far more to this expedition than trading profits and a payday at the end. There are reputations to be made, hidden agendas to be uncovered, and a tricky path to be threaded through the complex cross-border politics of the region. This 104-page PDF is available right now at DriveThru RPG for $29.99, which I have to say is just too much. It's just, I like what Mongoose does for the majority of what I've seen of Traveler from them. I think it's really good. I think it's really well done. There's a few stinkers here and there. Not that I've personally seen, but I have heard that not getting a lot of value for your cashola on some of their releases, but 104-page PDF for $30 just does not make any sense. It doesn't. And Mongoose is like, they're like the only company that does this all the time. Traveler would be way more popular if they could actually, like, for an example, I would say $14.99. Yeah, that should be fair. That should be a fair price for this. $30? No. Although it's probably really good. That's what stinks. I don't know. So, A Great Ace talking about that they have the Mongoose Starter Set. I reviewed the Mongoose Starter Set, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was really well done. And the reality is, even though it's broken up into 2 books in the starter set, and then you get an adventure, and there's some other goodies in there too, essentially, those 2 volumes are the same exact book that if you went and got the core book for Traveler. So there's nothing that's been left out in the starter set. So, a lot of starter sets you'll pick up and they may not even have character creation rules. Not so with the starter set. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Gave it a really good review. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's up with Mongoose. I really don't. They're just overpriced. It's just a fact of life. Sorry to say that. I like their stuff, but just overpriced. All right, so there's a little bit of discussion about the starter set as well. So exactly, there you go. Grade A says the same thing. No need to buy the core book if you get the starter. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, the starter set is somewhere in the vicinity of $60 or $70. So it is not like, say, for an example, Paizo's got their Pathfinder starter set for second edition coming out this month, and that's going to be jam-packed, and that's $39.99. Usually the Wizards of the Coast, that we had the starter set as well as the Essentials kit, which is a starter set for D&D. I think those were $29.99, if I remember correctly. Grade A says they got the starter for $45. That's a sweet deal. It is. I got to be honest. I think the starter set, even if at like $60 or $70, is still worth a purchase because it is packed with material. All I'm saying is I wish Mongoose would just bring their prices down a little bit, and I think you'd have way more people playing Traveler. I think you would. All right, moving right along. My final news piece. There is a new Star Trek Adventures tale. It's available from Modiphius Entertainment. Here's a dope on Back to Reality. What lies at the center of the Pinnacon Belt? This adventure presents a crew of player characters with a profound ethical dilemma that could have sweeping ramifications that extend far beyond their own universe. When the player characters investigate a dangerous asteroid field, they're confronted with doppelgangers from a different quantum reality where the Borg reign supreme. Can the player characters resolve tensions with their counterparts and solve the mysteries within an abandoned space station at the center of the asteroid field? This standalone 17-page PDF adventure by Fred Love is for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game and is set during the Next Generation era. This adventure also contains advice for adaptation for use in campaigns based in other Star Trek eras. The download from Drive-Thru RPG includes a regular version, which is death on your printer ink, and a printer-friendly version. So this 17-page PDF is available, as I mentioned, at Drive-Thru RPG. You can pick it up for $4.99. Cool. I like the Star Trek Adventures RPG. I really do. I do get stuff to review from Modiphius for Star Trek. I just if I start doing PDF reviews, then I will never get away from PDF reviews. So that's why I have Sammy do those. I mean, I would love to get more reviewers on board to share, the RPG love, because I get tons of requests to review PDFs. And I mentioned to a lot of folks, I only have one person doing PDF reviews, and it takes Sammy a bit of time to get her reviews in. So Grade A says Traveler 5 is a mess. That's what I have heard as well. I heard that Mark Millar or Miller, and I think it's Miller. Somebody once said it was pronounced Millar, but I don't think that's right. I think it's just Mark Miller. That was a weird thing. So that's another thing that turns people off from Traveler. So we can kind of talk a little bit about this. So Kabuki Kid says, can you still die in character generation? That's one of the most famous aspects of the Traveler RPG. And as a Grade A points out, yes, it is optional that you could die. You could have some pretty nasty things happen. I know when we were rolling up characters when I was trying to run some Traveler, but it turned out my nephew and his girlfriend were just about it. When we started playing, I don't know. Elliot's character, had some messed up stuff happen to him where he had like, cybernetics and crap like that because of a mishap where I guess probably an original Traveler, he would have died. But yes, a grade A is right. It is actually pretty good. Mongoose Second Edition Traveler is pretty good. It's good stuff. As far as I understand, I think Traveler 5, which is available at the same time as Mongoose Traveler Second Edition. I heard Mongoose, or I should say, I heard Traveler 5 is just a bunch of modular stuff kind of all thrown on top of each other, and it's just a disaster to try to actually make a game of it, which is kind of weird. I don't know. All right. So a grade A says, I think you need to run a one-shot with pre-gens, then run through character creation as a group. Yes, with Traveler, Mongoose Traveler, it really behooves you to not have everybody at the table create characters together, because it's very cool, because there's an aspect where each character has a tie to two other characters. And when they do that, they actually get extra skills. So it's pretty sweet. I actually liked it. Kabuki Kid points out, yes, it's confusing to have two travelers at the same time. I completely agree. I really, really do. And, you know, the funny thing is, we've got more than that. Because I'm sure that, a grade A will point out what it is. There is, yeah, we're getting some drop frames again, damn it. I was going to say that there's like kind of yes, there's Traveler for GURPS, but there's also another game that is essentially the mechanics of Traveler boiled down to just like the mechanics, and using those mechanics. For some reason, I want to say Concordia. I'm sure that's wrong. I think it starts with a C though. And it's like the core rules, the core mechanics of Traveler for other genres, as well as science fiction and Traveler. So it's like, so grade A saying New Era? No. New Era was still officially Traveler. See, that's another thing that throws people off, because you've got all these flavors of Traveler over the years. You had Mega Traveler, you had Traveler 2300, you had the New Era, and then, of course, you know, you've got Traveler, the first edition, which is supposed to be, if I remember correctly, I think it's Third Imperial. Yeah, there's a lot of confusion out there. I really think that's one of the reasons that more people don't play Traveler, is they see all this stuff that's just all over the place for decades, and they're like, where do I get into this? I don't get it. Starter set right there. Perfect opportunity. Check it out. All right, that is it for tonight's news. So, as I mentioned, I've got my review of Static Dawn. I made that public tonight, a little before I went live. So that is out there. Also, you'll be seeing Crusader Kingdoms, my review for this, as well as the third chapter of the Agents of Edgewatch Adventure Path for Pathfinder, All or Nothing. So I've got other stuff too. I just don't have it down here in the Duct Tape Studios at the moment. So, all right, Kabuki Kid mentions that they have not played Traveler in around 25 years. So, a grade A says, Traveler is for science and numbers thinking people. Yes, I would say, especially with the trading aspect of the game, if you want to even get into that. I know a lot of people would not, especially these days, right? Same kind of role players are like, do I really have to track my experience points? Would probably be like, oh, really? I got to kind of figure out how we pay for this ship every week. how we pay for our fuel and food. So you don't necessarily have to get into that, and yes, I think the second edition of Mongoose Traveler has kind of made the space travel aspect much easier and clearer without having to get into a whole bunch of math. Because math is hard. Flaming Heron's popped in. Good to see you, Flaming Heron. So Flaming Heron says that they're used to playing Traveler with people who played older editions. Sweet. Very cool. All right. I am going to wrap up because it looks like we're all over the place with our frame rate again. And, here the funny thing is, I checked to see if it was basically, drop packets or anything. Doesn't look like that's what the case was. So, I mean, it's not horrible tonight, but we lost more frames yesterday, that's for sure. All right, so that is it for tonight's episode. Don't forget, if you like the video, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. So you'll not only be notified when the Daily Dope streams live, right here on YouTube, Monday through Thursday nights. I'll also tell you when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of Crusader Kingdoms. Keep wanting to just say Crusader Kings, which is not right. It's Crusader Kingdoms. I have to be careful in my review. Of course, when you aren't watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. So those of you who hung out and chat, thank you very much. Could have been sitting there watching the news, watching all the little, count another ballot, count another ballot, count another ballot. But you didn't. You hung out with me. Very cool. Always appreciate that. And of course, if you aren't able to watch live, and I know there are a lot of you out there who aren't able to, maybe you're even watching on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch as well. I certainly appreciate anybody out there who takes time to watch this mug. All right. Anyway, this is the last episode of the week. Don't do shows on Fridays. Everybody, maybe not everybody, but most people know that. So I will be back on Monday. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Thursday night / Friday morning, as well as your weekend. And of course, during this never-ending pandemic that just keeps getting worse, I really, really do hope that all of you out there are being smart and staying safe. I'll see you next week. Oh, you're still here. Well, once again, thank you very much for watching this video. And of course, if you'd like to subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel, click right here. And of course, if you want to see one of the latest episodes of the Daily Dope, click right on up here. And if you want to roll the dice, take your chances, see what YouTube thinks you might like from the channel, give a click right here. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and I'll see you next time.